Get ready for another little dip in temperatures with in and out clouds before we get to the heat. That starts up this weekend. Hey everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center. We're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast, talk about how temperatures are going to dip down a little bit more, what happens while we have seasonal conditions, when we're bringing the heat, and when our next chance of thunderstorm activity is. All that we're going to be talking about here through the next several minutes, so buckle up, it's going to be fun. And remember, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section below. I'll do my best to get to them all the way through the rest of this evening. But let's start off looking outside. We have a mixture of some sun in the Cascades and a whole lot of cloud cover in the lower elevations. And as I say that, I'm realizing that it looks like this Hoodoo camera is out of date. It was the last time it was updated was yesterday, so they probably got some clouds over their area as well. Just not an updated camera image. But through the rest of the Tri-County area, we see all that cloud cover. We see a little bit of haze. This haze is because of a couple of fires that are ongoing. We had a couple starts from thunderstorms through the day yesterday, but right now, there's one in particular that per radio traffic got up to about 3 acres, and it's just north of Redmond, not quite up to Terrebonne. Both the Klein Butte's camera and the Powell Butte camera are zoomed in on it, and neither of them are really showing much in the way of a smoke plume anymore. So that has changed. Earlier today, it wasn't even that impressive. But when we go ahead and just dig into this a little bit more, our air quality is still in the green. Both the hourly average from the DEQ and those real-time sensors from eSpace. Now remember, eSpace is a local company that has this huge air quality monitoring network across the Tri-County area and really across the state. And so I like to use these as much as I can, because though the hourly average is good, and though the hourly average is what all the guidance is based off of, it also helps to know what the real-time conditions are, and right now we're sitting in the green. But when we go ahead and look at satellite and radar, we do see a whole lot of clouds over our Tri-County area, and yes, that camera up at Hoodoo should be cloudy, and we don't see any precipitation in sight. The closest precipitation is further off to our east, where scattered showers and some thunderstorms have been developing over the eastern parts of Oregon. Even when we go down to southern Oregon, where stuff could be coming our way, we don't see much actually happen other than a few sprinkles right around Eugene. So through most of our state, we are dry until you get to the eastern third of the state. That's where there are scattered showers and some thunderstorms. All of this is part of a bigger system, a bigger pattern, where we have waves of moisture pushing into the Pacific Northwest. So we're just going to switch gears and look at a full scan of the entire hemisphere. We can really see what's happening. So you're looking at enhanced infrared imagery, satellite imagery, and the enhancement is, instead of showing just the typical color scale or just grade for where clouds are, this one pulls out some of that vertical development. You can really see it when you look back over towards the Midwest, where there are all those reds and bright colors. That's where some thunderstorms are being active. But right now over central Oregon, we just have moderately high clouds, and again, not much in the way of precipitation at all. Through the afternoon hours, when we look at the pressure, those isobars, equal lines of pressure, we see that in the lower elevations along the east slopes of the Cascades and in the lower elevations, it has been getting a little breezy this afternoon. In fact, winds have been getting gusty, but this whole mass of cloud cover that's pushing through doesn't have a lot of moisture with it. Now when we back out and take a look at the bigger picture, I'm going to recenter it over the Pacific Ocean, because here's what I want you to look at. There's a broad ridge of high pressure over the Pacific Ocean, and count them with me. Follow my mouse. There's one weak front or trough, 2, 3, 4. Each one of these waves of moisture are part of a parent low that's over the Aleutian Islands, and these waves of moisture continue to impact us through tonight, through Thursday, through Friday, and then again Friday night. That's what we're getting our in and out cloud cover from. But then moving forward, by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, we're starting to turn our attention to another ridge of high pressure. This one is developing over the Four Corners region, or the Intermountain West, if you will, and that's going to build into the Pacific Northwest. So it's going to be a retrograde development. It's going to push what we perceive as backwards from the way things typically move, but all it's doing is expanding expanding and getting bigger and stronger. And as it moves over the Pacific Northwest, it is bringing the heat. Saturday, temperatures really start to pick up, and by Sunday, we're through the 80s and into the 90s. And then after that, it's going to be back and forth between the two ridges of high pressure. Which one is technically in control doesn't really matter. All you need to know is there's tons of sunshine for the weekend. Early next week, this high pressure starts to flatten a little bit, opening the door for some convection. And so just looking across all of Central Oregon and everything else, that's what's happening right now. Now, our forecast model shows that winds have been breezy through this afternoon. By this evening at 7 p.m., starting to see some clearing. In and out clouds are still expected through the overnight hours. By Thursday, starting off with more sunshine, ending up with a little bit of afternoon cloud cover. But notice, not as much cloud cover as we have today, at least if this forecast model, this high resolution model, pans out. Now, if it does pan out, we're looking at higher UV intensity forecasts through the day tomorrow because of the additional sunshine and that extra UVI. We'll get to that forecast in a little bit, but through Thursday night going into Friday, a little bit more in and out cloud cover. By Friday, that next wave of moisture pushes through, bringing more PM clouds, but no rain in sight. Now, when it comes to humidity, it's one of the things we use to track the progression of fire weather conditions, and right now it's not too bad. It is very dry. We're looking at 20s and 30s with a few 40s. Now, remember, this is in percentages for relative humidity, and the way relative humidity works is the dew point does move, but it doesn't move too far or too quickly. Its diurnal temperature fluctuations are big, and so when the temperature gets down to the dew point, it's 100% humidity. We have full saturation. And so we are about quarter saturation to a third saturation for most of the Tri-County area. A little bit more, a little bit higher humidity values through the east slopes of the Cascades, but either way, it's extremely dry. On top of that, temperatures in the last 24 hours did not go nearly as far. Some of what you're looking at, holdovers from 24 hours ago, especially when you get up towards Warm Springs. Right now, we're sitting in the 70s with some 80s on the map and even 67 degrees in Sisters. It is 81 in Madras and Paulina and 83 in Warm Springs. But it's also 77 in Bend, Redmond, and Prineville, 70 in Sun River, and 73 in La Pine. That represents a 1 to 9 degree drop in temperatures across the Tri-County area. The graphic you're looking at now is delta T, or change in temperatures, and it just shows a bigger cool down from where we were sitting yesterday. Sun River and La Pine actually running near and a little bit warmer, but that's because this time yesterday we started to get those showers that developed into thunderstorm activity that was pushing through. That caused some rain cooling action and dropped those temperatures down pretty quickly. But as we go forward through the next 24 hours, our temperatures this evening are going to be falling gradually. So a pleasant evening is expected. We have a whole lot of cloud cover. Winds are breezy, even gusty for some parts of the high desert. Overnight, that tapers off. We fall back into the 40s with a few 50s out there, and tomorrow it does not warm up nearly as much. We're topping out in the mid to upper 70s. And for this time of the year, the average high temperature in Bend is 77, average low of 44. Average high for Redmond is 80, average low of 46. And so this is going to put us right where we should be for this time of the year, and we stay in that seasonal range through Thursday, through Friday. By Saturday, we're flipping the heating switch back on, and that's when things start to change under tons of sunshine. But let's go ahead and talk about that UV intensity forecast, because I mentioned that it's going to be a little higher tomorrow. Today we were at an 8, tomorrow we're at a 9. Still very high, still not much in the way of difference. And the reason that even though we have these clouds today, but we still had an 8 for our UV intensity forecast for today is because solar noon this time of the year is around 1 p.m. And around 1 p.m. we had a lot fewer clouds. And then you take what we show you is the peak UV intensity forecast. And so today it was at an 8. We had those clouds rolling in, so that made it almost bottom out pretty quickly. But remember, even with overcast conditions, you can still technically get a sunburn. Just takes a lot longer for it to happen. But through the day tomorrow, we are looking at a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover, but more sunshine than we had today. Highs mostly in the 70s, some 80s expected in the next couple of days. That UV intensity forecast goes up to 10 by Saturday and Sunday. Now, when it comes to very high UV intensity, remember sunglasses and a hat, those are probably a good idea either way you want to look. And if you have sensitive skin, you'll want to bring protective clothing for some with sensitive skin. So that means trading in the SPF for the UPF, especially when we have that tons of sunshine. And before the clouds roll into the high desert, you'll want to seek the shade. And remember, stay hydrated. When it comes to the SPF, that sunscreen, reapply your sunscreen every 2 hours if you're spending a lot of time outside. Now, let's talk about our temperature trend because we're going to see several changes through the next couple of days. So we're looking at a forecast model that specifically focuses on surface temperatures. And this level of it also has some 850 winds. So winds removed from the surface and higher in elevation. And I also put some surface features and a couple of words on there. So through Thursday, we're looking at highs in the 70s with some 80s. That is right on target for this time of the year. Some afternoon clouds are expected. We keep that chance of afternoon clouds, but add a little bit more by Friday. So we're wrapping up the work week with 70s and 80s, highs on either side of 80 degrees. Breezy afternoon conditions and additional afternoon clouds expected as well. Now by Friday, we're not looking at much in the way of precipitation, and that's because we're starting to get under the influence of a broad ridge of high pressure that's over the Four Corners region and rolling our way. And as it sets itself up over the Pacific Northwest, we are going to have tons of sunshine for this weekend, and that is going to trigger the beginning of our next warming trend. I should say heating trend, because it's not just warming into the 80s like we're seeing on Saturday, but temperatures top out in the 90s by Sunday and Monday. In fact, when we look forward through the next 5 days, we go from 70s with some 80s Thursday and Friday up to 93 by Monday. But Monday also brings its own set of changes that almost going to be a wrench thrown into the mechanism that's happening. And that's because our ridge of high pressure starts to flatten, and we actually see a chance of more precipitation across the high desert. So let's look at your forecast model. This was your traditional forecast model, shows clouds, some rain, but it's a blend between two high resolution models from the same company. And so we're going to look at this as it goes forward and just track everything. Here's one ridge of high pressure over the Pacific Ocean right behind my face, and then another one over the Four Corners region or the Intermountain West, however you choose to look at it. Now here through the overnight hours where we've had a lot of this cloud cover, that starts to thin out. By tomorrow, we're looking at starting off mostly sunny, not quite completely sunny, and then more clouds show up by the afternoon, but not too many of them, staying dry. By Friday, that next weak wave of moisture rolls through that we counted them earlier, just stacked up over the northern Pacific Ocean and Gulf of Alaska. And so by Friday afternoon, more clouds, no rain. By Friday night, another one rolls through, more clouds, no rain. And by Saturday, that next ridge of high pressure, the one that's over the Four Corners region, starts to build back into the Pacific Northwest. And as it does, we are looking at starting off with some clouds, and those clouds give way to tons of sunshine with a light breeze. That's when the warming trend begins. Now we're switching gears. That's about when the high resolution forecast models end. So we're going to look at the GFS. And the GFS is an American model that goes out through the next 10 days. We're only going to show the rest of the 7-day planner, but it shows that by Saturday evening, we still have mostly clear conditions because of that ridge of high pressure. By Sunday, sunshine. By Monday, we start to see a shift in the weather pattern. Increasing clouds are expected through the morning and midday hours. I'm going to stop this. We're going to reset it, and we're going to go ahead and talk about this a little bit more carefully. So this is where we were sitting by 4 p.m. Watch what happens through the afternoon and evening hours. Clouds increase, showers start to develop, and there's a chance of some thunderstorm activity. Notice I slowed it down quite a bit for you. And we're going to rock it back and forth. Okay, so through Monday, because of this ridge of high pressure flattening, we do have a chance of some convection, and that convection could lead to thunderstorm activity. By the time we hit Tuesday, we still have some lingering showers, the potential for some lightning, but not really there. We're talking partly cloudy with some showers on the high desert. And then by the time we get to, let's back that up. By the time we get to Tuesday evening, afternoon and evening, that's where we have that chance of showers with the potential of thunderstorms. Now, by the time we get to Wednesday, we're back to more sunshine across the high desert. So between now and Friday at 11 p.m., We're not looking at much. We're maybe a few sprinkles in the highest elevations, and that's because of those waves of moisture pushing through Central Oregon. But let's go ahead and look at a different forecast model. I showed you temperatures, I showed you rain and clouds. Now we're going to look at geopotential heights. Geopotential heights helps us understand where the ridge of high pressure is, where the next low pressure is, and what's happening between them. Okay, so right now, across the big picture, there's a ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific, another ridge of high pressure over the Four Corners region. Okay, and we are going to open this one up as well so we can really get through it. So between now and by the time we get to Friday, we have these troughs, these brown dashed lines. I usually change those to cold fronts that are broken up because it's essentially what they are. But in this case, I left them as they were. So those troughs are going to take their turns impacting the Pacific Northwest coastline, but we're not looking at much in the way of precipitation from them. Notice between Friday afternoon and right now, we're in a zonal flow. A zonal is a west to east flow. We have these little troughs impacting us, bringing us in and out clouds. What's going to happen by the time we get to Friday is the high pressure that's over the Four Corners region starts to expand. That expansion is going to lead to more sunshine by the time we get to Saturday, and that high pressure starts to build into the Pacific Northwest, and it stays over the Pacific Northwest, or impacting the Pacific Northwest, I should say, because the center of high pressure is still going to be over the Four Corners region. It stays impacting our, expanded over our region through the weekend. That's going to bring unseasonably hot temperatures right up from Nevada and California. Another weak low starts to develop off the California coastline at this time, and remember, this is Monday. So Monday afternoon, that's when our high pressure starts to flatten. What does that mean for us? That's when we open up the door for the potential of convection. And then shortly after that flattening starts, our next ridge of high pressure from the Pacific Ocean starts to build into the region. So we have this 2-day window next week, early next week, that we're looking at a chance of showers and some thunderstorms. It starts on Monday, kind of carries over into Tuesday, but by Wednesday, we're back under our next ridge of high pressure. Now, this upper level flow chart, this is one that I typically don't show on air because it takes a little bit more explaining. So that is a look forward through the next 7 days. Let's come back to right here and right now. Winds have been gusty. Those gusts between 15 and 25 miles per hour. Actual wind speeds, sustained wind speeds, aren't nearly as strong. They're 10 to 20 miles per hour, still coming out of the northwest though. And so through the last couple of hours, this is when winds started to get breezy, even gusty at times. This graphic, when you look at that white line going right through the center of the graphic, everything to the left of it is observed, everything to the right is forecast. And so we still have a couple more hours of breezy conditions. Then we're falling back down to a gentle breeze. By Thursday, afternoon breezes return. By Friday, guess what? Afternoon breezes return. This is also when we're looking at more cloud cover, not much in the way of precipitation because of those weak fronts that are pushing through the Pacific Northwest. And so for tonight, you can expect 40s with a few 50s, some in and out clouds still expected. By Saturday, we're looking at a mixture of sunshine and cloud cover, mid to upper 70s, some low 80s expected. And again, this is that seasonal range that we're going to keep through Friday. So let's stretch out that 7-day planner. Thursday and Friday, either side of 80 degrees for highs. Breezy during the afternoons, more clouds Friday than Thursday. By Saturday and Sunday, we're opening up that sky. We're revealing plenty of sunshine because of the ridge of high pressure from the Four Corners region coming up into our neck of the woods. Then Monday and Tuesday, we have the ridge flattens. We have a chance of showers, and any showers that develop, we're going to be tracking for thunderstorm activity, similar to what we had yesterday afternoon and evening, actually, where we could get some thunderstorms that are capable of producing abundant lightning, but that's still pretty far out. We're going to really shape up that forecast through the next couple of days and really be able to nail it down for you. Then by Tuesday and Wednesday, we get our next dip in temperatures. Still some showers, maybe some thunderstorms Tuesday if we can hit that convective temperature. But by Wednesday, still in the 80s, still above average for this time of the year. So a quick recap of everything for you. Here are your weather headlines for Wednesday, June the 25th. A mixture of sunshine and cloud cover through the rest of this week. Seasonal temperatures are expected, but by this weekend, we're cranking up the thermostat. It's staying extremely dry, and fire danger risk is going to be rising, especially Saturday and Sunday, and especially Monday by the time we get that next chance of precipitation. When it comes to the temperature trend long term, we're talking days 8 through 14, the week after the 7-day planner, it's running a little above average for this time of the year, and there's a little bit of a chance that we could get some additional precipitation because we need it right now. For the last last 30 days, observed precipitation is very dry, almost 0% of what we typically get for this time of the year. So that is the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. And by tomorrow, we'll be checking up on drought conditions because that's when the next drought monitor gets released as well. Now, remember, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get to them. But for now, join us at 6 on CBS, 7 o'clock on CBS, then after the NBA draft on ABC, and at 11 p.m. on ABC and CBS. We'll see you then.